Hey, it's Hypemoore. I'd like to give our first official apology on behalf of King of the World Chat to all of the audio files out there. Some of our listeners won't even notice, but if my audio track sounds a little bit like a speak and spell with laryngitis ran through Optimus Prime's sweaty jockstrap, just know that this situation was entirely preventable, and it should be back to normal next week. I won't mention any names here. Thanks for tuning in.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You know what? I'm so proud of you. Last time you could only count to 5, so you're doing better.
Ha 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 ha. Well, some teacher you are then.
Oh, it's got cachet, baby!
Does that even start in the correct place?
No, I'm not a teacher. I'm just the one
That is clear. That is clear, sir.
Thank God I don't have to teach you to count to 8. That's what I'll say.
Well, you can't count to 9.
No, I'm terrified of 9.
No, you don't have to be terrified of 9.
Yeah, because it got eaten.
Yep. 7, 8, 9. Anyways.
Any dang way. Any dang way.
Why did 7 eat 9?
Why did 7 eat 9? 7 ate 9 because 7 was very hungry. It had been a long time since they'd had anything to eat since they lost their job, which in the economy that 7 was in, it was, the only thing that could be expected. That's what happens when Microsoft takes over the world after acquiring Activision Blizzard King, which might not happen, might happen. It will probably happen. The powers that be don't want it to happen because they've realized that this would be a monopoly on things besides Call of Duty. But you can check out more reputable game news channels if you want to find out about that. That would not be us.
No.
The reputable part. We could be a game news channel. We're just not very good. I hear there's a game called Halo. It's
No.
It's a game.
Halo stopped at 3.
They made a third one? I
Yeah.
just found out about the first one.
Halo, yeah. Like I say, there's Halo, and then there's Halo 2, and then there's Halo 3. And then there's The Fall of Reach and ODST.
Next, you're going to tell me they renamed Jumpman.
I'm not touching that one. I don't speak that game's name.
Donkey Kong?
I don't know that one. What's Donkey Kong?
It's the game that Jumpman is in.
Don't know that one either.
He's got little overalls and like a mustache and a hat. Kind of looks like the hat in the back.
Doesn't sound very iconic at all.
Jumpman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll work.
Yeah,
I don't
think that'll catch on ever.
And that's been the news. Welcome back to King of the World Chat, where the news is 30 years old. And it doesn't matter.
All right. Now that's an intro.
Now that's the deal. Every time I think of that, like, do you remember what the deal was?
I don't remember what he was saying it about.
Oh, you don't? It was 2 items. Well, I remember one of them was chocolate yoo-hoo, but I don't remember what the food snack item was. It wasn't the Angel Dust Nuts.
No. Wasn't that Gushers?
It was Gushers. It was Gushers, and that's exactly what it was. Hi.
Yeah.
Now that's the deal.
No, yeah. God dang it.
Now that's the deal.
That man reproduced.
More than once.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Good on you for getting some at least twice.
All right. Well,
All right. Well, we've covered the news, and we've
the
spoken in vague references that no one will understand. We had a friend one time who presumably is still exists in the world. It's been a whole minute, and
He'll
a
pop
long
up.
time ago.
He always does.
He was what did we say a long time ago? He was a generous motherfucker.
Yeah.
He is a generous guy. You could say a lot about him, but you can't take that from him. And a long time ago, when we were dude, fuck, that was probably 10 years ago. God damn.
Oh, that hurts.
That was 10 years ago. It was more than 8 years.
No, dude, some of that. Oh, no,
Which is
that is
another
more
vague
than 10
reference.
years ago. That is
I know.
way more than 10 years ago. That's like
Nah, that was like
13, 14, dude.
no, it wasn't 13 years ago.
You're in your 30s. That was in your teens.
It was 10 years ago. It was like 2013 at the most.
No, not at that time. Not at the Yoo-Hoo and Gushers.
Yeah, was Dad dead?
No.
Dad was alive?
Yeah.
Dad died in 2013, bro.
Yeah, but that was when.
So if it was before that.
No, that was during a certain era.
It was prior to. Okay. I don't know when anything is anymore. Time is broken. My dog is.
No, because that
my
would be the
dog is on his
Durango.
back. He thinks he's people. Look at him. He's got all four legs up in the air. You can't see it very well because it's all dark back there. But yeah. Anyways, he got a deal on Gushers and chocolate Yoo-Hoo at Walmart one time. I don't know what the hell we were going to Walmart. That's what I feel like. There's a phase in life that's part of like growing up. Not long after or around, high school ending in America, where someone has a car and you have the ability to go out at night. So you go to the only place that's open, which I don't even think is open anymore post-pandemic, because and you go to Walmart. I remember several shenanigans that we could
Talking about getting on the intercom.
Oh, there was a bunch of shenanigans. We could talk about the yellow barrier thing that goes. We could talk about I remember a long time ago walking there. You weren't there for that one, but
no, it's the one I'm thinking of. I wasn't.
We walked from the movie theater, which I don't even know what it is anymore, in Waco, to the Walmart down the street from there on Franklin. And I remember playing Guitar Hero when it was on display still in Walmart. But yeah, you go to get into shenanigans because it's open, and you probably just annoy the people that are just working their job that they love being at, and they're definitely getting paid well for. And in the middle of the night of all times, because you're a kid and that's what you do, you generally inconvenience people, and you get a deal on chocolate Yoo-Hoo and Gushers, and you say, "No, that's the deal." Whoosh. And then it sticks with me for some amount of time that is greater than 10 years, but less than 20 years. One of these days, we'll tell you about it. Until then, you'll just have to wonder. Speaking of snack foods, it would be a strange combination to consume the chocolate Yoo-Hoo, which is not. Is that like chocolate milk? Kind of? Would you call it like it's like a canned chocolate milk? My God! When you say it actually, like that.
So there's a funny thing about the whole.
Yeah,
it's called chocolate drink for a reason.
Chocolate drink. It's more like chocolate water than chocolate milk.
Yeah, so it's like you can't call that milk is the problem.
No, you can, but you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Well, you can
tune a piano, but you can't call it chocolate milk. It's chocolate drink.
It really is. They legally cannot call it chocolate milk.
There's no milk in there. It's? I'm gonna see if I can find. What is it?
Man, don't go looking under the hood.
Under the hood?
You don't go looking under the hood.
The first ingredient is, in fact, water. The second ingredient, I'll bet you could guess.
Soy.
High fructose corn syrup. Chocolate drink, yoo-hoo. Anyways, it would be a strange combination if you drank chocolate yoo-hoo and the gushers, like the I guess it's
gushers.
candy. I guess it's candy. What would you
It's
like?
It's a gummy with
Yeah,
a
but it
juice
feels
inside.
weird to call it candy. It's a gummy. I guess gummies are candy,
Yeah,
but I don't know why
it is
that
a
feels weird
candy.
to me. Yeah, but I don't know. For some reason in my mind, that doesn't
So do you
gel.
think fruit roll-ups aren't candy?
No, I mean, I guess I wouldn't call it a fruit.
Well, I
It's
hope
definitely not a
not.
vegetable. It's wax is what it is.
Say yeah, candy wax.
It's high fructose corn syrup.
In solid form. And let's face it, no one fucking ate it piece by piece. Only savages and the mentally deranged. You wad that shit up and you chew it like a real American.
Is it all the same thing? Like pretty
No.
much. Like Gushers has some like, okay, I know it's not the same thing. Okay. I don't need you to be I don't need you to be Captain Literal over here. I'm just saying, you take fruit roll-ups, you take fruit by the foot, you take the Gushers. They're all pretty much cut from the same part of the cow.
I would say they come from the same family branch of the candy tree a bit, yeah.
The branch of the candy tree. Well, I've been trying to segue, and I had a good segue because mixing Gushers and chocolate yoo-hoo would be a strange food combination. What is a strange food combination that you enjoy that people might not think is conventional? And it could be two things that you eat together. Like you don't have to literally cook them
Apparently,
together.
the fact that I like pineapple pizza is one of them.
No, fucking pineapple pizza does not count for that. Now, like for the record,
I think the vast majority of the internet would disagree.
No, I don't give a shit, first of all, what the vast majority of the internet agrees or disagrees with. You can make a big fucking deal out of whether or not pineapple should go on pizza. I think that is a waste of your time to be upset about. For the record,
they just don't live in
pineapple
Texas.
on pizza, how you feel about it?
I love it, dude.
It's
Kinda
fucking delicious. So if that makes you not want to watch
I'm
this,
thinking about ordering freaking pizza.
I'll see you later, okay?
And guess what's going to be on it?
If some
Bacon and pineapple.
Yeah. There's few things that bacon doesn't make better, unless you're not a fan of bacon, in which case also, see you later. No. Strange food combinations. My father, we spoke previously about our deceased mutual father, as far as we know. No, it's almost certainly.
Dude,
I mean, we
people
weren't
think
there.
We're twins. So if we're not his kids, we're basically someone else's two kids.
It's been a whole minute since someone has called us twins, but yes, they do say that. To which I always like to
don't
ask.
forget, our younger brother convinced the school that me and you were adopted as being the odd one looking out. Like,
do you remember the school we went to?
yeah.
Hello, everyone from school. Father used to eat. Dad would put saltine crackers in milk. It was a late night snack, I guess. It's
I mean, I guess
it's not good for you. Like,
I would call that the poor man's oatmeal.
it is. That is a really good way to put it. It's a cold, poor man's oatmeal. Listen, poor man, and you can afford milk in this economy. Listen, you got to you switch to the chocolate drink.
Yeah, like you switch to chocolate drink. Why? Because it's not milk, technically.
He did love chocolate milk. He was always a chocolate milk enjoyer.
Oh yeah.
R.I.P. to the G. There was the
you know the worst part about the milk getting down past a certain way? There was basically this line of which, okay, Dad is just going to take the jug and he's going to take the chocolate syrup, fill up the rest of the jug, and there goes the milk. Cereal, not happening.
Literally took the food from his children's mouths.
Hey, man had his priorities. He's like, God damn it, I've been out all
He goes
day.
to work.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, fuck us.
He deserved the milk. That man deserved the milk.
I'm saying actually fuck us in the past for thinking that he didn't deserve that milk. Hey.
You know, it's funny. I think a lot of people look back when they're a kid and be like, "Yeah, you're a little bastard." Like,
if you don't, then that's the other phase of growing up. You have the going to Walmart in the middle of the night phase, and then you have the realizing that you were a bastard when you were a kid phase. There's some kids out there, and this is true, some people out there, believe it or not, that were good, I'm told, did not get in trouble, sneak out of their house on a nightly basis growing up. Now, they're correlated or not. Some of these kids were not under such restrictions.
Oh, yeah.
There might or might not be a relationship there. To any parents out there, listen, we're not pretending to give out parental advice, although we're fantastic uncles. True?
Oh, yeah. The best.
True and real. Ask our niece. She would tell you. If she could say it, she'd be like, all my uncles are good. Shout out to you, Trey. Strange food combinations. We need to get some. Besides milk and saltine crackers.
So do you
want want a Sargarrett strange food combination.
Okay, so...
And it doesn't have to be something that you cook, but it could be something that you cook. It could be two things that you eat at the same time. You know what? Speaking of fun fact,
stuff I eat's pretty normal. Like
our dad also thought that he invented chocolate and peanut butter together, which is just like
he was
chocolate
convinced
syrup.
of that.
He really thought of chocolate syrup and peanut butter together.
Say,
he was devastated when he found out that they sold it at Walmart. Anyways, strange food.
Strange food combinations.
I'll give you one. A long time ago, when I was working at Jason's Deli, there was a pregnant man. Well, she wasn't pregnant at the time. There was a manager I had who was pregnant at one time, allegedly. And she said that it was very good to take the, basically they were like Ruffles or Lay's potato chips. They had ridges, so I guess they'd be more like the Ruffles, although they were not Ruffles brand. And you put those in the soft serve vanilla ice cream. It was okay with the chocolate too, but it was very good with potato chips, just regular salted potato chips and soft serve vanilla ice cream. That was good. Sounds disgusting, will probably kill you.
I got one.
Let's hear it.
Chocolate and cheese.
Chocolate and cheese.
Yep.
What kind of cheese? You're a cheese guy.
So certain things don't. Smoked Gouda really does
he
well
loves
with chocolate.
Smoked Gouda. I knew you were gonna say smoked Gouda.
Bro, smoked Gouda. Oh God.
Smoke.
One of the best parts about being an adult is like, I get to go to the cheese aisle. Like, I think I was the age of.
Listen, kids.
20.
One day
I was 20. Yeah. Like,
you get to go to the cheese aisle.
It was a big moment, dude. Like, I was 20 years old. We were living in Austin. Went to HEB, and I was like, you know what? Every time I went down towards this aisle, Mom got mad. And it was the aisle I wanted to see more than anything. And
where did you go with Mom that had a cheese aisle?
Walmart actually had one for a while.
Okay. I thought you're talking like a fucking a Central Market.
Not like what I saw at HEB. What I saw at HEB.
Or Central Market, where we used to both work.
I actually didn't go by the cheese area in that one.
You never once?
Dude, I was working the Dow.
It's like right in the middle. Yeah, it's like right. I almost never went to the cheese section too. Dude. And anytime that I did, people would be like, can you cut me this? And I'm like, listen, I know how to weigh shit. I don't know a goddamn thing about any of this cheese. And it was always cleaned up. That's why they were asking me, not a cheese guy, to do it. And I'm like,
how do you not
I
know
love
shit
cheese.
about cheese.
I love cheese, but I'm not a big fancy cheese guy. It's all waxy. It all smells.
You disgust me.
Yeah, I know. I'm a fucking slob.
God, I don't pair it with wine though. So
I was going to say you should be a wine guy.
I don't like wine. I don't like alcohol.
And fancy crackers and charcuterie. People eat boards over there.
Oh yeah,
fucking
dude.
Weird.
Oh, dude, platters. Dude, I make a Proudmoore platter that.
Yeah, but how do they? How do they chew up the board to swallow it?
Oh, you gotta use the right board.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm doing wrong.
Exactly.
You got to go down to the fish aisle.
Bro, you are using a breadboard, right?
Like for electronics.
No. You can get a breadboard maker in electronics, maybe. It's called a bread maker, but it's
okay, I'm gonna level with you here.
I know you were trying to make a joke about cutting up and eating the board. I am aware of the stupidity that you are.
There is no try.
That is correct. There is no try.
There is only chocolate drink.
And that is why you fail.
I've never failed at anything.
No, not you.
That's right.
Remember? Because remember, you gotta say, and that is why you fail.
Fail. Insert the deleted sound from Strong Bad. Fail. Bam! There we go.
Yep.
I'll cut that part out and I'll do the bam. All right. Did you ever give it chocolate and cheese? What kind of chocolate?
So it depends on what you have, because you might want to go with a dark or with a milk. Clearly I've done this a little bit more than,
This is well thought out.
Dude, it's happened more than
once. Go on.
So I have not found one that pairs with mozzarella yet. And I'm talking fresh mozzarella, like real mozzarella balls.
Not the stuff that we have in America, basically.
Yeah. Now,
did you know it almost looks like a liquid?
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a cheese by Boar's Head that has horseradish in it that does really well with milk chocolate. Like, dude, it's delicious, which is a combination of technically horseradish, cheese, and milk, chocolate milk. Not chocolate milk, milk chocolate. I'll get it out in a second. You know what I've always wanted to do, though? I've always wanted to take, like, cocoa powder and make a cheese sauce out of it.
You could do that. I'm sure it would be gross, but...
Oh, fuck
I would make a video of that. I'd watch a video about that.
You just don't have the palate. You just don't have the palate, okay?
No, I got the palate
of a
savage.
I got
the palate.
No, you don't.
I stack the palate.
You're a person who eats the
board.
I
break the palate down, and then I make shit out of the palate.
The only
and
shit
then
you make is
I
leave in a porcelain
palate.
chair.
I eat the palate because that's a working man's board. I don't eat these fancy charcuterie boards. I eat the palate.
God dang it. What is it? Is that like some trying to alpha move
with
there,
chocolate drink? There's my strange food combination.
There's nothing we could do.
Fucking people on Etsy hate me because they're like making art and shit out of the pallets. I'm eating all the pallets. Hey, man, it's tough out there. Eggs are $5 a carton. Pallets, they're fucking free if you're fast enough. All right, it's time to get into it. We talked about this last week. You know what? Also, sidebar, we're not always going to talk about World of Warcraft every time, but we've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately. And this show is the backbone
of the America. Around whatever the fuck's going on with us.
Wait, what?
It's pretty much
exactly. The idea is
which, by the way, Hype, I've been meaning to bring up with you before we get into this.
All right.
When's the last time
I bathed?
I don't want to know that.
It's about 48 minutes ago.
No one fucking asked. No one asked. God dang it. When's the last time you got on those salty seas?
Salty seas. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Because the last time you were on, I was on. And that was a long time.
They've updated it a lot, I'm sure. You're talking about
I think it's that time, where we go reintroduce a little bit of piracy in the world.
I'd be down for that. Sea of Thieves is a fantastic game. It
is probably.
It sucked at first. Well, it was great as a
it's just because there was nothing there, and there's still probably not all that was promised, but like
it's a survival type game, and when I say survival, I mean it's not like fucking Green Hell or whatever, something like that. It's not like Rust, but it is like Rust. It's like Rust with boats.
In a way, yeah. It's like
rusty boats.
Instead of building a base, you basically have a floating base that can shoot at other bases, and you put shit on your base, and then you take that base over to place to turn that shit in. In other words, fly a base or sail a base. Technically, it's flying across the seas. We do.
I hesitate to say we were actually sweaty at that game at one time because
dude, we played casually.
But we were better than casuals. Like,
no, well, that's because we were dicks on the sea. Like,
not compared to what some people did.
Oh yeah, apparently, no. Like, apparently they were a lot worse than what we did. Like, we'd sink you, take your shit, and then go on about our day. Like,
when I was streaming on Twitch for a little while, I did a bit where I would go around and try to, as a salesperson on the high seas, RPing a salesperson. That was fun.
Merchant?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not a merchant. I was just...
we could do something like that.
Yeah, it was fun. See if these is good. Problem is, dude, as a person with a full-time job, like, you don't have too many games that you have time to play. When you play something like World of Warcraft, it's probably going to consume most of your gaming time unless you are casual. In which case, hey, you probably don't watch this show. But if you do, and when I haven't been playing that lately, I've been playing slowly a Hi-Fi Rush, which is a fantastic game. It gives me hope for video games. It is a game that does not get made much anymore in the sense that you buy the game and you could buy like skins for the main character, but it's not a live service game. You know what I mean? It's like an old school game. You buy the game, you beat the game. Like,
all right,
that was it.
That's cool. That sounds like a fun game.
It is a fantastic game. You should definitely check out Hi-Fi Rush. It was also very cool because they just dropped it. Shadow Drop. Speaking of Shadow Drop games, do you know what just came out?
No.
They remastered Metroid Prime for the Switch.
Oh, no, they announced that a while back. I haven't. What's it called?
No, they Shadow Dropped it, I believe.
No, because I remember Moses talking about that.
I'm pretty sure they just shot. No, that's Metroid Dread. Metroid Prime.
It wasn't it?
It is the original Metroid Prime.
I don't have a Nintendo system anymore, so I'm so lost in this world now.
Also, they dropped a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, which is the Breath of the Wild sequel.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It was very cryptic. The game comes out, I think, in May. I think May 12th. I'm excited about it, even though I'm in the camp that was like, it was a good game. It's not necessarily it didn't feel like a Zelda game. It was a very good game.
It was a fun game. And
it is a very fun game.
I actually had the Link outfit for that one. Shout out to all those who know how to get it.
It's a very fun game. But it's I think it's a fair criticism. It's getting some, at least on Reddit, which it's getting some criticism for being everybody's, and I think it's fair, that it looks like, based on what they've showed us so far, everybody's hoping. And this is sort of the problem with hyping up a game versus like a Shadow Drop.
It's kind of like putting expectations on it you really can't.
Oh, it is. And that can destroy the game before it ever even comes out.
Right.
And if they are not doing, listen, I thought this was kind of funny because this is a tangent a little bit, but I know you'll agree with me on this. There's a lot of people out there that were like excited because they want to play as like Zelda or the other champions, like the dead ones, like spoiler alert. Like I said, I want to play Link. I would play a game where you get to play as Zelda. I would definitely do that. But like they did that in Phantom
Warriors was fun, dude.
And they did that in Phantom Hourglass as well, I believe. Right? Like it had Zelda. That's the one where she's in the armor. And I think it's Phantom Hourglass. Like they have like she's got a move on one of the Smash Brothers games where she like manipulates that suit of armor that is a reference to her in that game. She basically gets like put it anyways. Like there's a lot of people that were like upset to find out that it's not going to be which that didn't bother me so much, but what did bother me is there's a lot of people out there that want this fucking thing because they saw shriveled up Ganondorf and they were like, maybe he'll get rehydrated and they can all three be companions. And I'm like, he's fucking demise.
Ganondorf? The king of evil?
Bad guy. Yes.
Demise?
Like, yes. Like, and I'm like, no.
Do these people not have books or something in their house? Because Zelda doesn't talk. No one in this universe talks. You have to be able to read. So I know that's bullshit. Like,
well, they do in Breath of the Wild, remember? Like, voice acting.
Oh yeah, they did have some of that. Oh yeah. Link didn't talk. That's the important part.
At least they didn't do that.
Yeah, no.
Besides all the like
that's all normal. Yeah, so like, just don't make Link talk. Oh God, what is wrong with these kids these days?
Well, I was glad they didn't do that. But
like,
if they are
I'm
not
all for like
trying something
breaking,
new,
like and breaking norms and all that good stuff, like because that's how you get unique new combinations. But some things are just dangerous. Like, and Ganondorf is one of those things. Like, wow, that's deadly. Like, you don't go near that. It's like, oh, radiation. Maybe it can be our friend. No, not really. Like, it needs to be.
Huh? You and me should some other time we should workshop. We should try to sit down and try to think of a storyline where Ganondorf, like, because they've done that with like Bowser and Mario and crew sometimes, right? Like, and they've done that as far back as Mario RPG on old Nintendo, where like Bowser has to help you. Like, if they're gonna do that with Ganondorf, it's very predictable because I
have a problem with that because, like, in order for that to happen, like, in order for the Goku Vegeta team up that we're looking for here, there needs to be somebody who's bigger than Goku and Vegeta.
I was gonna say, like, you can't really compare it to that because Vegeta's character arc is like,
well, I mean, it's the classic like hero villain rivals.
Classic in anime.
Well, no, dude, it's classic everywhere. I don't give a shit about
no. Vegeta's arc is a very
yes, it is. But when we're talking about the Goku Vegeta team up, it's like two people who refuse to work together are working together because they have to. But this bigger thing, and the problem is, I just don't see anything bigger than Ganondorf.
It also really doesn't work like that because like.
Goku does not see evil.
Dude, Goku didn't even want to kill Vegeta the first time he fought him. Like, Goku always kind of knows that he could beat Vegeta. And once Goku knows he can beat you, like, he's not interested in beating you anymore. Like,
unless you're Vegeta.
No. Then he's a good sparring partner for you. Yeah, that's what he is.
That's what he does, dude. Part of that is Goku's taunting the shit out of him with that.
I think
they're saying that's
they
how
do taunt each other, yes, but like I'm telling you, like anyway,
just kind of like how your DPS do sometimes in M+.
Yep, it can be a good thing, but mostly not. Like, anyways, I'm glad that they aren't. It looks like bringing that with Ganondorf, but there's a lot of people that are hoping that basically the new Breath of the Wild remake, or not remake, the Tears of the Kingdom or whatever it's called, is holding something back that they haven't showed yet, which their trailers have been very cryptic. So they could be doing that. But the problem is when you start like on that kind of hopium, like chances are you're going to end up, if they don't do that, now there's like no shot for you to not be disappointed with whatever it is that you get. And it looks like they put in some cool new systems, but a lot of people, TLDR, are concerned that it looks like an expansion pack, basically. And they've been working on it for like 6 years.
And to kind of just touch on that point of like,
which is a fair
not
criticism.
Living up to expectations, like video games will never meet dream standards. Like,
true.
Like, now, I'm gonna be honest, I got pretty close one time when I first played with the VR because that was different. Oh, dude, a lot of that was a dream come true. I went and lived out a lot of those TV show moments. And
what's the worst video game disappointment for you? Well, let down, because this is why you don't hype things up too much.
So I originally saw the a thing about the Titanic sinking. That was a VR game where you basically.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, and I thought I had downloaded it, and it turned out to be something completely different. And it was just a advertisement. Because, dude, in the VR, like, you can download something, and it turns out it's just like a demo. Like,
and the game never got made.
Yeah, and there's a lot of abandoned projects that
dude, there's a lot of scams in gaming that end up that way. Kickstarters, like people will say they promised the moon, and then it's like a rug pull.
Yeah, and like in VR, like And VR is just kind of really in this pioneered section right now. It's a lot better than what area I'm talking about.
Because if you're interested in that, you should go check out our episode on VR. I think it's VR is a gym covered in diarrhea. I love that.
And as soon as I get everything set up, my channel's going to be doing a lot of VR. But I got to get that headset improved first, dude. She's on her limbs. She's just not on her last limbs, dude. She's been through hell.
I'll tell you what. One of my biggest gaming disappointments was in
Destiny.
That I could think of. No, Destiny was a lot of fun for a long time, but it turns out that it was probably just manipulating us psychologically, which a lot of games do. For me, I remember when Red Dead Redemption first came out, and we were all super excited to play it online. And Red Dead Redemption was a fantastic game. Still is. Second one is good too. But I remember going to work with my friends, and we were talking about like how we were going to play the online. And it turned out that you could not rob the train because there was no train in the multiplayer in the first one. And when we like found that out, that was like, damn.
That's
like
rough.
That was that you don't want to hype things up too much ever in life, but you got to have realistic expectations. So I'm hoping that that it would be cool if they were holding something back that people haven't seen for Tears of the Kingdom. But chances are, like, it's Nintendo. They're pretty good at marketing, so the chances are they might have screwed themselves though by letting that become the narrative. And it is very easy in the age of online 24/7 and all the message boards and all the different social media platforms and discussion to let a game's narrative get away from you. And like Blizzard has that problem all the time. Then they can't get it back, and like you might be dead in the water before you even get off the ground. But I still have hopes for. I don't mean, see now, and even now it sounds like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a disappointing game. I'm looking forward to it. Legend of Zelda, probably my favorite game series of all time. Fucking fantastic for me. Ocarina of Time is probably, if it's not my favorite game of all time, it's in the top 3 for sure.
Majora's Mask for me.
Majora's Mask is very good. I do think Majora's Mask is the better game. It's just of the two, Ocarina of Time is the more
just hit home on so many more points.
That was a fantastic game. That game was a masterpiece.
Dude, it was. And it was challenging.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of people in that thread where people were complaining about, oh, Tears of the Kingdom looks like a expansion pack. It's like, hey, Majora's Mask was literally made in like 2 years with all assets pretty much from, not all, but from the original Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. And the ones that were different were just alternates they had left over.
You have to think creatively, and it goes back to something we said before. It's like when you start out, when you got low budget, or when you have to think around, hey, we don't have all the money in the world, which is probably part of the problem with gaming at large. The budgets are so big that like you don't have to think in the same way that you do to creatively come up with novel experiences and solutions that are fun. I think that should always be the starting point. But for Legend of Zelda, like dungeons and like actual dungeons, not just the shrines, would be needed. And for me, and like the story for Breath of the Wild was definitely on the weak side. Now, some of the individual stories in there were fucking fantastic. Like, but that's kind of like we described that one time, and I think that was a very good way to put it. It's like Breath of the Wild, it has a lot of depth within its systems, but as far as the game, as far as the Zelda game goes, with like story and all that, it's like a very, very wide puddle. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a fair way to say it. So, today,
are we about to start what I think we're about to start?
We've been running a lot of Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft, and we're about 100 points away from a Keystone hero, which for some people is nothing. But for people with full-time jobs, and like some nights we'll do like 2 dungeons. Some nights we don't do any dungeon. Some nights on the weekends we might get, a few more in a day. We could look. I meant to look at our dungeon runs. I'll do that before the next one.
Man, hang on a second. I know where this is going.
I just would like to see like what our comps were like. How often, we had what for a healer and all that, so that we could like. I like to look at data. And I think that could be interesting. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the dungeons in Season 1 Mythic Plus. So 4 from Dragonflight and 4 from previous expansions, which is a good change, by the way. For the longest time, World of Warcraft has been really bad about making content and then forgetting about it. And it's like there's so much content that
that's the whole reason why Red Shirt Guy is a meme that exists.
Red Shirt Guy was
a real person, yes.
Like Bob Dylan, the voice of a generation.
Yeah. And that's way after Death and Taxes.
Oh, yes. Long live the funeral raid.
Let's get into this.
We are going to rank all 8 of these dungeons on our tier list, as we've done in the past a couple of other times. And this is basically going to be... Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yep, that's what we're doing. Right, what do you think I went off the screen to go get? That and a pack of cigarettes too, because this is gonna. For this, it's not the thing you want to go through after work. That's for sure.
No.
Like
that's not 1, not 2, but 3. Count them. 3 luchador wrestling masks. My hair is too fucking long.
I don't know why you have all the. Oh yeah, you were doing bits back in your Twitch day.
All right.
Let's go.
It's me. It's me. Oh, yeah. Ouija time. All right. I don't know what we're doing this for, but we're doing it. We're doing it live. Fuck it.
Yeah. Because we're about to do a tier list.
This segment brought to you by... Should be brought to you by, if they can turn in, whoever up there at the goddamn office needs to get your shit together.
I'd say fire that guy. That's what I'd say.
Leaving a lot of money on the table, but not our table. That's the problem. All right. Speaking of table, I've got a table. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. No, why did 7, 8, 9? We discussed that at the beginning of the episode.
Yes, we did. We did go over why 7, 8, 9.
We got Court of Stars from Legion. Halls of Valor, also from Legion. Shadow Moon Burial Grounds from Warlords of Draenor. Temple of the Jade Serpent from Mists of Pandaria. Good old Mop. That's the way the old Mop flops, as our grandfather used to say. Algathar Academy, Ruby Life Pools, the Azure Vault, and the Noku Defensive. All in Season 1. This is not going to be your tier list. Maybe it matches, maybe it doesn't. We'll try to speak to what the community likes. It's not going to be the ones that we think are the easiest or the hardest. We'll put it wherever we want to, but those things will be a factor.
I'm going to be honest, I really don't care what the community likes on this one. This is our tier list, and this is just the way it's going.
Well, I mean, they have some things that are going to be right. We're going to talk about bosses that make the dungeons harder or easier. We're going to talk about
a whole lot of this is opinion based. Now, there's going to be things where we all agree. I'll tell you this.
All right.
Even with all the RP fixes.
RP.
Fuck. Shouldn't be in there anyways. Stupid things like flying the dragons and...
Well, if it was based on RP, Halls of Valor would be at the bottom, but they fixed that a little bit at least.
Court of Stars would be down there too.
Now Court of Stars would be the bottom one because, and if you didn't know, which if you're running Mythic Plus, then you probably do.
You should.
You need to either fuck up one time on the Among Us section, or you need to leave one of the pillars up to make the RP not as long. All right. I've quickly grown a mustache because I where's my like SpongeBob with the razor? I am a man.
This is the one time I'd be like, yeah, well, I have a real one, so
I am a real one. Hey, I just shaved before the show.
All right, Gerber. Yeah, you know,
hey,
babyface.
If I was Gerber, I would have a lot. I'd be sitting on piles of money from an empire that was built on baby food.
I was like, that baby was probably like just blood. He's like,
built
man,
on
you know how
baby
many
shit.
times they sold my face?
Mm-hmm.
They still selling it.
All right. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Bop, 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 bop.
All right. First one we got. Can you see the tier list? This is a problem. I got an itch on my nose, and now I
can see the tier list.
Okay. Court of Stars. It's on the left. Initial thoughts. When you get a key, it's Court of Stars.
Shit.
Now that's what you would say at this point in the season, because lately, and that one should not be a problem.
That's what I say as a demon hunter, because you have to be so fucking careful about all your fell rushes and your vengeful retreats. It is a narrow walkway.
Side note, if you have to be careful and that bothers you, you should not play Demon Hunter.
Yeah, you have to, like, it's tedious. You cannot, like, if you overextend anywhere in that place in the beginning, you're pulling a bunch of bullshit. Like, don't fucking fell rush in front of the doorway. Don't fell rush near the mana worms. Don't fell rush towards the staircase that goes down to the docks unless you're clearing docks.
Listen, we'll never get there if we talk about all the places that you shouldn't fell rush.
Oh, man. No, it's not, okay, there's not a whole lot, like, it's not like that. I know you like to meme it like that, but, because you only notice the bad ones. Yeah, I see you mouthing over there. Mouthio.
It's me. Court of Stars is definitely one of the easier keys in general. Like, it's got one of the timers.
It's easier for us because I'm an alchemist and a demon
There's
hunter.
a lot of, listen, okay, here's what I want to say about that. Court of Stars, I think realty, like, if it was not a season 1 Dragonflight, if we were just talking about the dungeon in general, Court of Stars is a fantastic dungeon.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun.
There's a sneaky bit at the beginning, which is cool. I think the interactions with the classes towards the second half, well, even at the beginning, like if you are a rogue or an alchemist and you can sneak up and poison the fucking, basically the boss dies early. Listen, more ways to kill bosses at 30% before they enrage, 25% before they enrage. Hey, more of that. It feels cool to go in there and be like, oh, listen, I'm a demon hunter. I will bring extra value in the Among Us phase. Or if you're a paladin with Truth Guard, they have a shield that lights up when you're looking for a demon that's hiding in at a party. And when you get, like, you have to run around. Normally you have to get 5 clues, and then you have to find the one that's like, oh, he's got a light vest. It's not a he. They're wearing long sleeves. They don't have gloves on, and they have a book on their belt. Like, and then you have to find the right one, and when you do, you go and you kill the demon. Demon hunters, once they have all 5, of course, they can use their spectral sight. In theory, it never seems to work out has that ever worked for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why the whole reason why I added marking onto the F keys.
There you go. That is cool. It feels good to have class.
It's so weird that we're talking about mechanics that, we were talking about years ago, because back in Legion, when it was relevant content, or I guess still technically relevant, but I mean relevant for the expansion. It's just like, where you're talking about all those little skips and whatnot and things they do in the dungeon. It's just strange to hear them be talked about again, X amount of years later.
it's a very I like the aesthetic of the dungeon. It's a little too much purple for me. I hate that for the first boss, I really wish they had made the colors a different.
Yeah, the Trashborn have terrible taste.
Yeah, I just wish that they would like make it a little bit easier. I'm getting old. Maybe that's the problem. And that's not just me. It's everybody that's been playing WoW for a while now. Some of us are old and we can't see as good as we used to. I couldn't see good to begin with.
I would say, yeah, you still have blind as a bat pretty much.
But hey, most of the time I don't miss the mechanics in there. And that is a dungeon that will test you if you're not good on mechanics. And my God, it seems like every time you and I pug that dungeon, somebody dies at the beginning of the first boss.
Oh, yes. They either don't jump or get blasted by the line. I've never really seen anyone fuck up Cone. You know, Cone, I really don't.
Well, the Cone just isn't as punishing.
Yeah, it's really not.
Now, once you get to like 20s, I'm sure that like the Cone will one shot you. But once you get to 20, like
I've never been hit by the Cone, so.
It's a good dungeon. I think it is a class that you could study in dungeon design. And I think the game would be better if they would make more stuff like Court of Stars in the future. Things I don't like about Court of Stars. RP. That dungeon. Huh?
All the fucking RP talking for M+.
RP is cool the first time you do the dungeon. And then after that, and especially in Mythic Plus, which is essentially speed running content, RP feels bad. Like, it is a dungeon that it is very hard. Even with the magic marker weak aura, like I can fucking draw a line and people will still butt pull mobs in that dungeon.
Oh yeah. Like even when you mark out the line for the Voidwalker and Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, they always hit that rune in some of the Dead Orc. Every time.
Oh, before the second boss. Yeah.
Just every freaking time. It's like
that is a dungeon that is not too linear and not too open as far as like the routing. There's options for you to do different things there. There's a skip. It's a good dungeon.
Boring though.
Boring?
Yeah. It's just boring. It just seems like to me it always felt like short dead mines. No real.
Okay, of the 8 then, what is the most fun dungeon to you?
I guess we'll figure that out at the end of the video, wouldn't we?
No. What is the most fun dungeon? It's not a fun tier list. I'm asking, you're saying it's not fun, so I'm like, I need a reference point for what is on the other side of fun for you in this season. Like overall. If you can overall say it's not fun.
Yeah, Nokun is actually fun.
I would disagree. I would say that I think Court of Stars feels fun because of
Court of Stars has a lot of going on. It makes you feel like you're doing what you're there to do in the dungeon.
Fun kind of goes fun becomes different when you're playing Mythic Plus because it's very, very binary. Either you fucking win or you lose. And like I think that like fun, unfortunately, the way they've set up Mythic Plus is like the progression. And if you don't time, then you're not going to have fun because you're not getting progression.
I also think Ruby Life Pools is fun too.
I think Ruby Life Pools is a good dungeon. I think it's hard but I think I don't
think Ruby Life Pools is a hard dungeon. I think people just get lazy at times.
I definitely think that it's a hard dungeon, and you should say that like you should be able to see other but I think it's a very good dungeon. I think on design for these 8, I think I would probably say that Ruby Life Pools might be the best design of the 8 in this season. But if I was going to put Court of Stars, I think Court of Stars is more fun than you're giving it credit for, but it's not a fun tier list. First boss, very mechanic heavy. People always seem to die. They shouldn't. I'm sure in some groups out there where people have progressed beyond Keystone Hero, the dungeons go more smoothly there. I know Court of Stars is one that the community likes in general because it's easier to time. The timer is more forgiving. I think there's a wide range in how forgiving timers are in Season 1 Dragonflight. You take something like Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, which is like a joke, compared to Azure Vault, where it's like, if you wipe once, you are pretty much
not going to time.
You might be able to if everything else goes perfectly, but like...
It's Azure Vault.
Azure Vault has the tightest timer in the dungeon in Dragonflight Season 1, I think. So it's not just based on that. Court of Stars, I think I would put, personally, I think I would put it in B tier. Overall.
My personal reasons for putting it in the C tier is just because I can't stand the place.
If I wasn't going to...
But B tier is a fair place, I think, to put it.
Okay, let's, real quick. You can't stand the place. What is the main reason that you can't stand the place for everybody out there?
Really? It comes down to that one day when we had to fucking do it 4 times. It just was...
And see, that's the problem. Well, but that's the problem with Mythic Plus in general, is it's like by the end of the season, you could just be sick of all of them. Like, and that's why I'm like, if I'm rating the dungeons just as dungeons, and this is Season 1 Dragonflight tier list. So, but if it was just dungeons, I think I would call Court of Stars an S tier for me based on design and all that. I think it is a very, very good dungeon. I think in this season, I'm going to call Court of Stars A tier. You want to call it C tier?
B tier.
I thought you said C.
I did say C, or that's where I feel like it should be. But I'm going to meet you in the middle and call it B tier. But it is definitely not A tier.
I think we have to. I don't think it's definitely not A tier. But I think if I call it A tier and you call it C tier, we got to put it in B tier. All right. Algathar Academy.
Also, another thing is, once again, all that bullshit RP that we already went over, just wasting time.
It also feels like...
Dude, RP where I can't do anything and I just have to sit and watch tunes do stuff feels bad, especially when I'm in a timer.
Well, and the bosses for that dungeon, like, are very unforgiving when you get to Mythic Plus higher levels, because one person dying, especially on a tyrannical week, can basically if they touch the fire, like that will one shot on the Imp Lady boss. And I think even though if they place the images right, like the last boss shouldn't be hard either. But again, you have to rely on a decent amount of player knowledge. Algathar Academy. For me, Algathar Academy, it's been nerfed a lot, which tells you that it was probably not tuned well. All the Dragonflight ones were not super well tuned.
It's a unique one as well. Like it feels like now it's reminiscent with all the jumping of the Citadel from
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Skyreach.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of that dungeon.
Yeah, it's very linear.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of routing there.
And also that the one with the Oroka where you're running across the platforms kind of reminds me of that one too. Which had some fun stuff in it as well. Which I have to give Algathar, like, it didn't have as much as like the bells and whistle mechanics like the other two pre-mentioned did. But it has a lot of a fun like feel to it when it comes to like each individual place actually does feel like a different kind of classroom, so to speak, because you've got the garden, you've got the gym, and then you've got the library. And
the RP there is some of the funniest.
Yeah.
I love what are these birds doing here? I think that one has been like a meme for everybody.
Oh yeah, dude, a lot of people like that.
It is just fucking. My theory is that because the Drakthir are enemies of the Primalists, and the Primalists, the Protodrakes have feathers, that is part of why they don't like birds. I think it's like...
It makes you wonder how they feel about dinosaurs.
It does. So don't tell them about BFA.
Yeah, dude, they're gonna freak out when they see the first Devilsaur.
I'm gonna say for me, like Algathar Academy, I fucking hate the bird boss because it shouldn't be too hard. But the problem with the bird boss is as a tank, I feel
is that bleed really that unmanageable?
I feel it's not unmanageble. I'm saying as a tank, I don't like it when, and this is like, just because this is my opinion as a tank, this does not mean this is bad design. Because if I don't need the healer, then that's not a well designed. And not every boss fight has to be everything. Some boss fights are DPS checks. Some boss fights are heal checks.
Some are tank checks.
Yeah, some is like go pick up ads and shit.
Mechanic checks. Like,
but I hate how like dependent I feel. And it's not entirely like, I won't say that like, because it's not like, oh, if your healer can't do it, they can't do it. But that one feels very much like a heal check. Veximus should never be that hard. The last boss is very boring.
When did we struggle with Veximus? I know we wiped once on a Veximus.
Only like one time ever. Veximus, I think, is one of the... Veximus is probably one of the easier bosses in the entire season.
I say, yeah.
But... Also, the last boss in Algathar Academy, the Dragonflight, I think it's hilarious that you're basically fighting her out of office email automated reply.
Oh yeah, you're fighting the voicemail. That's
yeah.
The answering machine.
She's turned her automated responses on in Microsoft Outlook, and that has turned into which is what work can feel like.
Great one-liners, because for me personally. If it's like, I only knew if it was like, if a TV show said something when I was in high school or something, it's like, oh, they didn't study for a test or something. That kind of hits home, especially if you were watching that instead of the test you're supposed to be studying for. But anyways, I feel like anyone playing World of Warcraft during finals and that shit happening is going to have a huge psychological effect. Like, it's just like, it's some great one-liners. It's like,
but mechanically, and as far as boss design goes, that boss is boring.
Yeah.
I can tell they were trying to do something with like the stacks, and then eventually you drop that like circle that shoots orbs out. But that is a boss that you should almost never wipe on. And even though the tree boss was previously one of the harder bosses in the season pre-nerf, I think that two of those bosses are super easy. The trash mechanics are not super. You kick the fucking scepter.
Yeah.
You
avoid the dragon breath.
And then like pretty much the rest of that dungeon trash wise is pretty negligible. There's not a lot of options.
Kick the fucking bomb.
I think I'm going to put Algathar. It's one of the more difficult ones. Once you get to a certain point for the community at large, but it's not the hardest by any stretch.
No.
I think I could go probably like.
I'll say this. It's one that it's really let us know when we've had a good healer, and when they're really worth adding to the friends list. And I feel like that as a kind of it in itself, it's almost like for some healers right now a rite of passage, in a way. If for all you prestige people out there, it's kind of like you did that, and I almost feel like it deserves an achievement when you blow through the bird boss pretty easily with your healer. And I feel like that gives it an A tier because it serves a mechanic by just existing.
Bird boss is a good boss. Bird boss is a good boss.
Yeah, it is.
That's a well-designed fight. It's annoying, but it's challenging in a good way that feels satisfying when you beat it. I think probably
I go with A tier. What the hell?
I was gonna say, huh?
I said, what the hell is an S tier?
Probably only like one.
Maybe.
I think Alcathar Academy, I think A tier is, I think that's fair. I think it's got a good, unique feel.
Mhm.
I do think that people probably like.
It kind of feels like a school. Some of the dialogue is the most memorable.
I think the not having any routing like options really feels bad because it is
Well, that's
linear.
why it's not S tier, because you don't have the choice to skip certain things.
But it does feel good to know that, like, at the beginning of the season, I remember being like, it's Academy. That's nice and like straightforward.
Yep.
And it's out of reach. So
Yeah,
can't
for
fit you
sure.
with that.
For sure.
Halls of Valor. This is not my favorite dungeon this season because it's very long. Aesthetically, I'm not a big fan. Neither of us are a fan.
Dude, it's so yellow.
Makes me feel like I'm in a McDonald's.
Yeah, and then you go inside and it just feels old and it's all brown.
McDonald's is designed, or at least it used to be, like designed to get you in and out, like to make you want to leave. Anybody that's like seen Super Size Me or watched anything that talks about McDonald's, like it is not, you're not supposed to want to feel like, and I get that same feeling. Like, I don't know. It makes me feel like it's evening all the time because of all the orange. Like, I don't like, I think the simp fight boss is funny. The two boss, I get big White Knight vibes from the Herja's two little bitches. Yeah. Like the storm gathers within you, Herja. Like they're like, it's like basically you've walked up on them like they're having a circle jerk for Herja and they're mad that you're there. Listen, Odin is a dick. And pretty much everybody that's in his circle it follows that. Like there's a world quest in Legion right now going on because every time we walk into Halls of Valor, he talks about that Etten that's in and he's like, basically, this is what Odin says. Oh, I'm disgusted by this hideous creature. Go kill it. Like he's disgusted by all life.
Poaching. And I'm like, is he just feeding himself?
If you pay attention to, Odin's a little bitch. You can hear it in his voice when he gets beat. He's like, that's enough. Like,
but by the way, what kind of last boss? What kind of last boss is like, all right, let's have a fight. Let's be worthy. Oh, help me, help. Like, come on.
Two bosses in that dungeon.
Fenrir's a cool, fun fight, though.
I'll tell you who it sucks for. Anybody that relies on an execute mechanic because you ain't executing at 80% health.
Nope. You're not executing at the first boss either.
At least you get to get him down to 10.
If he gets to the...
What to a little bit, but yeah. Like it feels bad to not get to kill the boss. Like that's a weird thing. Fenrir is a good boss. I think Fenrir is
a fun boss. And when you know like how the moves work, like being able to shadow meld, cancel the one of them or vanish.
For me, that adds to a boss when it's like
when there's Easter egg mechanics, as I like to call them.
There's some cool shit that you can do with Herja too that I don't usually do because we pug and
you did it on accident the last run.
It's usually not a good idea to try stuff with pug.
No. I was wondering why you ran her down the middle like that.
Here's the shitty thing about Halls of Valor. And if you didn't know this, Halls of Valor originally was timed for, like everybody talked about, like when you first of all, I'm going to make the suggestion we always make. Don't go read Reddit comments. But if you do, you'll see people talking about Halls of Valor sometimes, and they'll talk about how the timer was built in with RP. First of all, who are these people, these apologists that are out there like defending Blizzard when people say,
speedrunners, they like the fact that like speedrunners are that way. They just,
dude, I think that Mythic, and that's the problem with Mythic Plus, it like encourages like elitist behavior of like, and listen, we play a lot of Mythic Plus, but like it encourages people when there are legitimate complaints like, man, the fucking Skovald RP where he runs in and complains about second place to get the fucking shield, the Aegis, whatever it is of Agrimar. Like,
the way they, God.
What? Someone out there that it was like defending that timer or like the RP.
No.
What is wrong with you? Like,
yeah, like
I think they're just people who are like, well, people just suck at this game, and I'm going to take any opportunity I can to shit on them. It feels bad
when literally there's nothing I can do. It's like taking a chunk of it, and it's
like a minute.
Yeah, dude, it feels longer than that because you got to go through.
But they fixed it.
Scovalds, you got to go
through.
They
fixed it 6 weeks into the season, but they fixed it. But
we were still timing it with it, so who cares?
Even then, people say, "Oh, the timer was built in with the RP."
So,
okay, originally that timer in Legion, 45 minutes. Like something, I know it changes with the key level, obviously, but something like they took like 7 minutes off when they, like, dude, that dungeon is super long.
Okay, in the defense, I think I understand that because through their time walking events, a lot of times they have us way overtuned. Like you just steamroll that shit.
Well, and people learn. Like,
or it's the opposite. It's like just unplayable.
And people will break the dungeon when it's that old because they'll know stuff that like. So I'm all for them fixing some things. Like, but fucking Halls of Valor, if you don't pull big, I don't care if it's fortified or tyrannical. Chances are you're not going to make that timer, and it's such a long dungeon, dude. The other night, like, this was one of the most frustrating leaves we ever had. Like, the dungeon went very, very smoothly until we got to the very end. Like, and actually, I say the very end.
That was Jade Serpent.
No, I'm not talking about Jade Serpent. Oh. I'm talking about when I think we were fighting, it was a fortified week. We were fighting the trash right before Scovald. And like, there was a wipe.
Oh,
and then
the
priest
on the
left.
And
that is like, dude, you are like nearly 40 minutes in to a dungeon at that point, and then you leave. It's like, God, that makes long dungeons feel worse in Mythic Plus. And if you know a dungeon is going to be a Mythic Plus, which they will be eventually, then it's like long dungeons feel bad with the current implementation, which again, I will say, if the timers were like in actual speed running, when they do like a lap in a race and they time in between sections, then people wouldn't leave. But my God, to be that long into something, and then somebody just says, okay, we're not going to make it, so fuck everybody. I'm out.
Yeah.
Which I understand, like you wanting to like you're not incentivized by the design to finish that dungeon, but God, man, like that sucks.
Yeah. You know,
Halls of Valor.
When we see someone leave like that, like right there at the end, like right there at the buzzer, you know, like that always reminds me of this show that Stan Lee did for a while, where I think he was trying to get someone their own comic book. So they were like doing a game show where they're all their own superhero. And
I remember that vaguely.
Like, I remember this one guy who carried like this giant freaking gun. And like he gets like, they had this thing where they were getting attacked by a police dog. And he gets right up to the door. All you have to do is put your hand on it. And, you know, you succeed. Dude gets right there. I mean, talking about like all he had to really do was just stretch. But he gives up right there at the end. Stan Lee turns around, eliminates him from it, but then turns the guy around before he leaves the studio and is like, hey, he's like, I've looked at everything you do. He goes, the way your characteristics set up and with the weapons you choose and how you chose to give up right there at the end fits one type of bill. You're going to be my villain for this show. And that reminds me of these people. These people are the villains of M+. They don't give a fuck about nobody. They don't want to try to stick it out to the end. They just are there for them.
And a lot of times it's their fault that there was a wipe anyway.
I would say that is the strangest thing I've ever noticed. Like, vast majority of them have been like, the ones that died the most. They're the ones who ate the most mechanics. They're the ones who like do not win.
Bitch made. Villain material.
Yeah, like even Stan Lee. Like, condolences, Lee. Take that hat off. Even Stan Lee recognized that these were aspects of a villain. And that is the father of all comic books. So,
listen, I got a pair of Batman dress socks somewhere in a pile of clothes over here about 8 feet from me.
But yes.
It says heroes never quit. Okay.
And you know what?
Mercy said heroes never die.
Just to type it on another, it's one that, mother found and gave to me. But it's a little plastic plaque that has one of those quotes, that it's like, I feel like it came off Instagram. But Mom gave it to me, so I keep it. And it's still kind of cool because it's Batman. It says, everything's impossible until somebody does it.
It was very Batman-esque.
Yeah. But however, my favorite Batman line will always be the most Sigma thing I've ever heard him say.
He's gonna say
a beautiful women threw themselves to me at my feet, and they asked him what he did, and he said, "I stepped over them." Like,
I thought it was gonna be some days you can't get rid of a bomb.
Oh, dude, no, that's a great, but that's Adam West. Hat. God, you don't respect nobody. And
bro, you say the shit, and then you take the hat off, and then you're like. You're like,
dude, I get quiet. Like that should be the indicator, And besides, and we're not even mentioning our other, Batman hero, Kevin Conroy.
Oh man, that one hurts.
Yes, yeah, that one does.
The old man, he tried to catch the fish, but he no catch the fish, and he no make a money. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
That was Batman.
That
was my Batman.
I said, that is my Batman. I don't care. Like, what's great? He never put on the costume.
Kind of, but that's another story.
That's it's not fair.
That's life, man.
And for that, we put him in. Dude, can we put him in D tier? I want to put them in D tier. I want to put Halls of Valor in D tier.
I'll put all the other
because it just feels like it's still not ready for M+. I
don't think it doesn't feel ready for M+. I think that one is worn out for M+.
Dude, it just doesn't feel. Nothing about it feels good. The best part of it is the place where you're like out in the woods.
That part of the dungeon feels good.
Huh?
Yeah, that part of the dungeon feels good. Thank God they gave you a speed running buff, but that probably tells you that like they realize, damn, like people are never going to finish this dungeon if we don't do something. Like, okay, now we come to Ruby Life Pools. This one is probably one of the community's least favorite in terms of, because again, I think most of the community, if they were going to make a tier list of Mythic Plus dungeons from season 1 or any season, they're going to go like Shadow Moon Burial Grounds at the top because it's easiest to time, and they're going to go something like Ruby Live Pools at the bottom. But we're not just going off like what's easy.
Right. And
Ruby Live Pools, I think, is the S tier for this.
I'm going to agree with that. Like, here's why. All the bosses have fun, unique mechanics. Now, I don't really mean unique.
That are taught to you by the mobs throughout the dungeon.
Exactly. If you're paying attention, you know what to do because you've seen all of them.
That is a very tight dungeon. Mm-hmm. The timer is tight, but it does not feel unforgiving. When you fail Ruby Live Pools, if you are being honest with yourself, you know
what you did wrong.
You failed. Exactly.
Yeah, what you did wrong. Where did you misstep?
The bosses were definitely overtuned to have been nerfed as many times as they were and still be difficult, though. I don't think they've been nerfed into it. The thing is, like,
and
people
Boulder seems to be consistently targeting ranged now.
The problem is that people will take a dungeon like Ruby Life Pools, which was very, very hard at the beginning of the season and has been nerfed so many times now that people will be like, oh, that dungeon is nerfed into oblivion. That dungeon will still check people and it was overtuned to begin with. So I don't think it's been nerfed to where it's an easy dungeon. It's definitely easier than it was. It's tight. It's quick. So if you fail, like, you're in and out, which is good for Mythic Plus. And that's why Mythic Plus is bad also, as is designed. Like, I like it. It's good for the game, but like it forces you to go, man, if our dungeon is long, it's probably going to be like not liked.
It's full of checks everywhere. It's checking, like, that dungeon checks.
It's got great aesthetics.
Yeah, and it looks great. I'm saying I love the color scheme to it. I like the blues and the reds. It transforms from when
you're like in the bottom floor.
And that's the one complaint I do have about it, though. I do have one complaint. The dragon ride up is so unnecessary long. Like,
it's not that bad, though. What sucks is that you respawn.
Shit,
what sucks is that you and that in general could be a complaint about, like, man, the places that they spawn you in when you die, like, yes, that I will give. I was like, I don't think the dragon ride is that bad. It sucks because I hate it. I hate it because there is a lot of unavoidable group damage in these dungeons. It puts a lot of stress on the healers on top of the changes that they made right before Dragonflight came out that made the life of healers hard. But here's the problem. Like, I hate it. Like, because I don't think to tell everyone, because you don't want to, like, there's so much shit in season 1 Dragonflight dungeons in Mythic Plus when you're pugging that if you were going to tell everybody everything every time, you will 1000% lose their attention, like, because there's so much that you would have to say. And I do not tell people every time, hey, don't release, because there are some dungeons that when people die, when you're halfway around the ring up at the top and somebody dies, which is very, very, because there's so much pressure on the healer in some of those trash packs in fortified weeks, especially, that, like, hey, sometimes they've got to be like, well, somebody's going to die here. Like, I can't keep everybody alive. So, and then instantly you see them release because there's a lot of stress on everyone. They died. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they think they're going to get flamed. They know they need to get back as quickly as they can. And a lot of times the correct answer is
just chill.
Wait for the res. Like,
just chill out. Just wait.
God,
no
that
one's
dragon
gonna
ride.
say shit. Everybody knows shit happens. You're in M+.
The
only person who's gonna say something is a shitter. Like,
yes.
And they don't, like, they're not part of our community.
If you're gonna shit on people in Mythic Plus dungeons, it better be your regular friend group that you run.
Exactly.
With.
You know, someone that you like. For example, when me and you shit on each other's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
And that feels fine, like, and fair. Like, it's like you're talking, and we run a lot. And I know Sargarrett is a solid DPS player. Everybody, we all make mistakes sometimes. So it's
I fuck up at times.
And so do I. Sometimes it's like, on the second, which is why.
Yeah, it's like when he does, like, you miss a defensive. Yeah.
Dude, and that's what I was going to say. The second boss, definitely overtuned at first, but that is a tight dungeon because everybody has to be on their shit for that second boss. That second boss is hard, but that is a good boss. The healer has to be on it, and the healer is very stressed. Like, during searing blows, if the ad doesn't get killed fast enough, everybody is dying there. Like, the tank, if you miss it, like, it's not as bad on Prot Warrior, but, like, if you're playing like Brewmaster, you got a lot of defensive options. But damn, if you don't cycle through them properly and use your mitigations, like,
you're gonna get sticked for your paper. That's what's gonna happen.
That boss will catch you sleeping if you are not paying attention.
Yeah.
And then the third boss is probably my least favorite of the three.
But it's a well-designed boss.
It is an interesting boss. It's very
not
difficult.
Overtuned.
It was at first. It definitely was before the nerf.
No, I mean, like, okay, let me rephrase then. It's not over-engineered.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but once you know what to do, it feels manageable.
Yeah,
and even then,
it's a dance that has some random moves in it. You just, like,
that is a boss.
Are we going to shake or groove?
Progression on, like, you don't get progression in the same way in dungeons that you do in raids.
Yeah,
but that boss, you will slowly learn. Oh, the aggro is going to reset at one point
as soon as they unify. Like,
and then you learn.
I learned the hard way. Do not keep them up there.
It's like you learn things like, oh, if we keep them in between those pillars, the dragon won't fly all over the place, and it becomes much more manageable. When people realize to take their fire puddles out to the outside, when you realize that the wind blows in a pattern every time,
you know where it's going next.
That is a good dungeon. Ruby Life Pools, I think we both agree, S tier. Definitely hard for the healers, but
it's fun. It's hard for the healers.
Unforgiving to the DPS,
and to the tank. Don't be sleeping.
And it does not let you fall asleep as a tank. So, and I think that might be, I don't want to say it for sure yet, but that's probably going to be the only S tier.
Man, I'm looking at the rest of these, and I'm being honest, some of these, only about 2 of them would I wipe my ass with.
Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. And I'll say this first. I think Shadow Moon Burial Grounds aesthetically is a cool dungeon. And if you want to know that dungeon is a cool dungeon, here's what you do. Even if you don't normally do this, just do this one time. Turn your music on in World of Warcraft when you're flying up to the dungeon.
There's about one area that I think is pretty neat in there, but I think they really missed the ball on a lot.
I'm just saying the music sets the stage for that dungeon.
Yeah.
It feels like the Fire Temple music in Ocarina of Time almost. Like it's got this low, kind of it definitely feels like you're going to a tomb. Like you fight near Zul, which that's pretty cool. That's fucking throwback. If you know what you're talking about, it's retcon into Oblivion. But
plead the fifth.
No, don't plead the fucking fifth. That dungeon is throwback.
I'm holding my tongue on this part.
Ner'zhul is as old as Warcraft 2. He might even be Warcraft.
But just not the version that we know.
Yeah, I know. I said it was retcon, but I'm saying
dude, okay. Continuing on.
Shadow Moon has the same problem that some of the other dungeons have, but in reverse. That dungeon is so easy, timer-wise. You should not have that level of difference. You
really shouldn't. A lot of those pools aren't difficult.
You look at everybody's IO. If you use the Raider IO add-on, which if you watched our video, you absolutely should be using. If you're doing Mythic Plus, you probably already are.
And remember, you're not getting guarantees. You're making an educated guess.
You should. He's talking about when you're picking your groups for pugs, obviously. If you haven't seen, you should go back and watch the video. It's a good video. I might be slightly biased when I say that. There should never be a season. There should never be a season where everybody has one dungeon up at the top as their best run, because what you've got there is a situation where people are literally incentivized to fail other keys to get a shot to get Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. They had to nerf it so bad that they changed the scoring system specifically for Shadow Moon Burial Grounds so that if you fail it above a 20, you get score as you would if you had timed a 20, which made some people's IO score go down. And if you're one of those people and you're mad about it, then you're not being honest with yourself. And how can you I don't know, if you don't care about it's about as I don't want to say it's about as close to cheating as you could get, without, we all cheese the systems in games sometimes, but aesthetically, I think it's cool. First boss, she's got some decent mechanics, but once,
it's it's aesthetic.
But it's a fairly boring boss.
Yeah, the daggers, stand over here.
Second boss,
I could dude, we've all I've always ignored. It might be just because of how much leech I have, but I've always ignored that echo thing or whatever.
Dude, I want to say in general, I think one of the best things, if you were going to legitimately, whether you're talking about classic era or retail, if you're going to honestly evaluate World of Warcraft as a game, one of the things that you could say a lot of negative about it, but one of the things I think you have to give World of Warcraft is their dungeons are some of the best design in MMORPGs.
Yeah,
if you look into MMOs nowadays, dude, Like I've seen a lot of it on Josh Drive Hayes' channel because he plays all kinds of MMOs. Like, dude, MMOs today, like they don't even design dungeons. Some of them don't have trash, which you could make strong arguments for. But like,
I don't like that.
No. They literally will be like 5-minute runs in some MMOs, like for the entire dungeon. Yeah. Like, I think that's.
You know what
What?
You know what I fucking want, Hype?
What?
I want M+ Dead Mines. That's what I want.
Yeah. He's talking about original Dead Mines too. And I would play the Cataclysm Dead Mines as well.
Much the same one. The only difference is the cannon part, really.
No, it's a different dungeon.
Well, but the bosses are a little bit different, but I mean, like, there's more.
Cataclysm Dead Mines is good too. Like, here's the problem though with some World of Warcraft dungeons. The bosses, the first, second, third, all of the bosses in Shadow Moon Burial Grounds have mechanics that when you put them on paper, you're like, hey, this isn't a boring boss. This should be like some good mechanics. But they end up effectively being, and this is like the dungeon is years and years old at this point, but still, like the first 3 bosses are pretty much like negligible almost in terms of mechanics. Like at this point, and the fucking worm boss, God, I think everybody would agree that he is a health sponge, and health sponges are bad bosses. It was really bad in Destiny, but like, man,
dude,
tyrannical worm sucks. Like that is a long fucking boss. Like Ner'zhul is the only boss I would say that feels like a good boss.
The body slam is really the only mechanic you have to dodge. Everything else is pretty much a fucking joke. Well, okay. Inhale is not a joke if you're not a demon hunter or something, you know? Like, when I first found out, and I was like, oh, dude, I can just straight up ignore this mechanic. Even if I get inhaled, the damage is minimal, and I get back to the ring immediately.
His ears shot up when I threw the ball. Okay.
Like, so.
I think, what else can we say about Shadow Moon Burial Grounds? Some of the trash is
okay, here's another thing. Ner'zhul's fucking wall of bones
is bullshit sometimes.
Some of those fucking alleyways are narrow.
I don't know if it's supposed to. I wonder, you know what? I would really, once we get Keystone Hero, I'm going to start trying to see what I can do to figure out what causes that, if there is any relationship at all, because you let me know in the comments if you have noticed this or not. And maybe it's just a random thing and that's all there is to it. But it definitely, if I guess, wouldn't say anything about it in the journal. Sometimes those alleys in between, we always try to kill the second. I always mark it with a skull, not the one on the far left or the far right. I pick the side that's furthest away from the omens of death, the purple pillars that you should not stand by, which I believe does damage relative to how close you are to it.
It's not enough to just vicinity.
It's not enough to just move like 2 steps away, like the daggers are, like, which can be confusing, I know, from the first boss, but like,
just don't put them on the moon.
Sometimes it's too narrow. Well, not too narrow, but sometimes it's more narrow. And I like almost without fail, somebody touches the poo-poo, as we say, in the middle of that boss, and it ends up like taking what should have been a +3 or a +2 and makes it a +1. And sometimes the Mythic Plus wipes can like break morale, and then people start playing poorly after garbage.
I've seen people's DPS fall off.
It's because people like, it's just demoralizing. And once again, it's very unforgiving in Mythic Plus. That's why Tyrannical is so much worse than Fortified, because it's like one DPS dies or somebody dies and it's like, well, might as well reset it if you don't have battle res. Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, I do think Ner'zhul is a good boss though. I think he's the best boss in that dungeon.
Yeah, he's a fun boss.
But I think as a whole, like, I think that dungeon needs to be.
I'm gonna be honest. Shadow Moon Burial Grounds just kind of broke the whole M+ thing altogether. And
what do you mean? Yeah.
To the point where it had to have its own fix. I'm going to have to say that's got to go in C tier, dude.
Yeah, I think
it
I
brings
think that's
a lot to the table, but
place.
it's literally.
I thought you were going to say D tier, and I might not have. I don't think I would have followed that.
D tier's not fair enough because it's still at least like it's at least like if you had a rough key and you ended up with say like a 15 Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, in that situation you're sitting pretty good because it's pretty easy to double or triple that one.
The timer that Halls, okay, like the timer for Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, too long, too forgiving, but the Halls of Valor timer should be closer to the feel of the Shadow Moon because my God, like
and Shadow Moon manages that with having that stupid ass run before first boss.
God, do not release if you die before the second boss. Because
wait till the Voidwalker dies to release.
That's the kind of shit that makes people
really you shouldn't be dying in the first place.
Okay. Now we're getting to what I think has shaped up to be the most difficult dungeon in the season.
Yeah.
At week 9. The Azure Vault.
Which is one for me and you. It's surprisingly not mechanics that me and you generally fuck up.
Listen, the Azure Vault is a love-hate relationship for me as the tank. I think Azure Vault, the timer is the least forgiving, and that feels bad. From the way I route that dungeon, because I don't do the stuff where we pull everything at the beginning. Not everything. Nobody pulls everything, but a lot of people kill now that they've nerfed the piercing shards on the Arcane Furies, which I would say is a candidate for the hardest trash mob in season 1. I would also say the Inferno guys and Ruby Life pulls, because they kill everybody. Shouldn't it be, Azure Vault should be negligible if your tank is positioning correctly. I mean, not negligible, but like piercing shards, if the tank does right and the group knows not to go in, there's a lot of clones in season 1.
Oh yeah, dude.
But the piercing shards,
season 2 is going to be just as bad, if not worse.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to season 2, bro.
Dude, Brackenhide. And by the way,
no,
touching on the point of spawn point, a lot of these spawn points are premeditated because look at Halls of Infusion. It's designed, literally there are corridors that open up that if you die, you go this way instead.
That's one nice thing we can say about Halls of Infusion, at least.
Oh, dude, that gauntlet is going to be ass. That gauntlet is going to suck fucking dick. It's going to be terrible.
Fucking frogs is going to kill keys in that place.
Yeah, because people don't understand. And it's the one thing it should be easiest. Run away. Freaking Monty Python, run away. That's it.
Run away, little girl.
Yeah.
Run away.
Just run and just run and toss it. Just whatever's in the bag, throw it. Just nothing requires you to stand. Just be tossing.
They should have had a reference to the big bad wolf in that dungeon somehow.
Why?
Because
there's nothing in there that even remotely looks close to the big bad wolf. Come on, man.
It's not about looking like him. There should be some,
why are you making a Karazhan reference?
There should be some kind of reference to him telling people to run away.
Dude, he's literally the default selection for GTFO.
We ran with I know a lot of people are like have PTSD about that now. There was a dungeon run I did in Azure Vault. I think it was not. I don't know. We were talking about Halls of Infusion, and it was Azure Vault because I told people, I was like, hey, don't let the frogs step on you. And there was a guy who was like, but that's my kink. And then like I said, hey, then you're gonna love Halls of Infusion because there's one where you have to let them swallow you.
Yeah.
Azure Vault.
Yeah, which most people don't realize. That little green arrow, like circle that happens around him, if you don't have someone get eaten, he's gonna enrage. So unless you have a soothe, put the tank in there.
Yeah. That's not going to be what's hard for people in that dungeon. That's one that I'm definitely going to
you never jump in there. I swear to God, if I see a healer jump in there, I'm going to freak the fuck out.
Because if they get to 10 stacks of the poison, they die instantly. Anybody. So I'll definitely be taking detox in that one, and that will feel good.
Isn't that poison though? Isn't it a red barrier?
It's one that you can dispel with.
Okay, it's dispellable. Okay.
You're thinking of Brackenhide at the end.
Oh yeah, dude. Fuck.
The thing I like about Azure Vault is
fuck Knolls. Why do people like Knolls?
Azure Vault, the first 2 bosses are not like the second boss is very difficult for people at large. The first boss, you can't sleep on it, but before they nerfed the third one, the frost bombs felt bad with how much damage they did at one tick. Now they are completely like they might as well not exist. And the timer is still tight, even with them nerfing the health of the last two bosses. But the thing I like about Azure Vault is once you get past the way I route it, and probably similar. Well, okay, some people set it up so they don't have to do this way, but we set it up as like, hey, once you get past Azure Blade, second boss, I tell the healer, hey, we're about to move. And it seems hectic. Like you grab the fucking whatever he's called, the breaker, the big Draconoid dude, and then you run into that room, you pull everything, and it is chaos, but it is.
Although the run we had the other night, that was some of the greatest stun rotation I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying
we
is
were
like
on with that group. That group.
I love Azure Blade.
Didn't we add people after that group?
We did.
I think we added like 2. It was a Death Knight and Drakthir, wasn't it?
Azure Vault, tough dungeon, good in the like I like. There's a lot of options for routing there. You can jump down off of the first ring. People do that.
I jump off every ring. I never use that book.
I will say that like that dungeon with the last boss being a dragon relative to the dragon at the end of Algathar Academy, huge difference in the level of difficulty between those two and dragon bosses.
Right. And you know what, Hype? I really feel like I know where this is going. I really feel like we're going to be putting this in A tier, but I need to make an argument for B tier right quick.
I'm trying to think what I don't like about it.
Oh, I'm about to tell you what I don't like about it.
There's an inordinate amount of swirlies in that dungeon.
Oh yeah, dude. That place is a yogurt shop. Just swirl everywhere.
It is a ridiculous amount of swirlies.
Yeah.
What is it that you're going to say?
The reason why I feel like it should go down to B tier is because Azure Vault is one that slaps me in the face every time I go. Because as a demon hunter, they literally put in there, or Cindy Grossa that says, I installed these transports for the flightless caretakers of my vault, right? I don't have to use the freaking book. You know why? Flightless. Because I'm not flightless. So why can't I soar? Why
That's not flying. That's falling with style. You are a sad, strange little man.
I can fly.
You are a sad, strange little man, and I pity you. You actually are Buzz Lightyear right now. You actually are Buzz Lightyear right now.
Everywhere I go, I see him.
I loved Buzz Lightyear when that first movie came out.
Dude, all I'm getting at is
the timer is so tight. It just slaps
me in the face every time.
The timer is too tight. They had to nerf 2 bosses big time. Now the third boss feels like a shell of itself. That dungeon.
Although I will say this about it.
They nerfed that boss into oblivion.
Azure Vault also hits you in the feels box pretty heavy.
It can. The RP is interesting in that dungeon. That dungeon feels like it has the most mystery. With
Cindy Grossa that makes you feel bad.
Cindragosa.
So whatever. It's not her that makes you...
It sounds weird hearing you say Cindy Gosa.
Cindergrossa, whatever.
That dungeon feels like it has...
If you listen to
that dungeon feels like it has the most mystery.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure. It's a vault full of a bunch of stuff she locked up. Like, of course that's interesting. It's kind of like, what else do the Kaldor have in their vault? But anyways.
Cows?
No, they don't have cows in there.
Oh, no Tauren?
No. I don't think Grim Totem have the resurrection problem, so I think they just kill those.
Somewhere out there's a civilization of night elves and Tauren living together, and they're called the Kaldor. I just wanted to clear that up. You might not know.
This is the only time I've ever hoped that your building just collapses on you.
I'm glad I could give you that little nugget of information there. The more you know.
I would say it sounds like, from that little segment there, I feel like you're probably on WoW's R34 page, aren't you?
What's R34?
Google it. Anyways.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. Anyways. You're not
Maybe
a man
if
of
you know what
culture.
R34 is, you could tell us down in the comments.
And if you don't know, Google it. But anyways, yeah, as I was saying, listening to the last boss on that one.
You've been really trying to get this out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it I'm trying to bring it back to where we're not just because we have a problem of starting a conversation.
I will say that to your point of that, I do not normally feel like
it's hard for me to feel like
I feel like the voice acting
or
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is I feel like
the other end.
I feel like the voice acting in World of Warcraft is usually one of the weaker elements of the game.
Mm-hmm. But that guy,
I will say that Syndragosa's voice actor does the best job, even though she's basically like doing WoW's version of Cortana, which is like she conveys probably the most emotion.
I'm gonna be honest, it makes sense that Malygos would do that, you know?
I'm just saying.
I mean, Dr. Light basically started building robots because he lost people. Or was
Malygos goes crazy, obviously.
Yeah, well, they did call him Mad Malygos anyways.
There's a cool reference to that in to him and Neltharion, Deathwing both in not is it Day of the Dragon? Whichever book it is, not Day of the Dragon. The one that is Dawn of the Aspects, the one about them when they're in the past. Like they both look to the mountains and they don't know why. Like they just stare off in that direction sometimes. And I think the implication is that they're hearing the voices of the old gods. Like definitely Deathwing. Like he's not Deathwing at that point, but
he
even as Proto-Drake.
There are whispers in the mountain.
Yeah, it's cool. Azure Vault, I think
there's a sickness on that mountain.
I think that it's the third boss is poorly designed in that like it was overtuned.
The fact that one move got nerfed,
it was overtuned,
all of a sudden was not a problem.
Yeah, like if that was like that boss was like propped up on the frost bombs, and that is a lazy design. Like now, there was one time when we ran.
Although if you we ran with a Drakthir healer, run out. Jesus Christ.
We ran with a Drakthir healer one time in that dungeon who, for the life of us, I don't know. I think we wiped 3 times on that boss, and every time I was like, the first time he did it, I was like, hey, don't drop the frost bomb.
Oh God, on the runes he dropped him. It's right
where you have to stand in the shield, and he did it every time, and eventually the healer just like left in a rage quit. It was a resto druid, by the way.
I say the vast majority of our levers are druids. Always druids. I'm just saying there's that kind of person that plays them.
One of my favorite things is when I have a Chad healer. And the way I know I have a Chad healer is sometimes I'll talk to them.
The two that I know you're talking about, those dudes were laid back and cool.
Sometimes the Chads are always laid back and cool.
Yeah, dude. You're doing great. They're like, hey, that's great. Something negative happens.
Sometimes when I will message the healer before the dungeon and I'll ask him, hey, it's bursting or whatever, like, or something, talk to them beforehand, like, oh, I'm going to go fast here. Let me know if I need to slow down, whatever. Like, there's sometimes when I'll be right before the boss and I check and they're missing mana and I'm like, mana, or I'll say when you're good, heals. And then the Chad healers, sometimes they're like, the ones that are just like, I'm good, bro. Like they just there've been a couple that like instantly respond to that question with, let's go. And I'm like, all right, man, that is a confident healer that it's like, I know that healers are having to like fucking spin 4 plates all at once, but there are some that like, they're like, it's good, man. Just keep going. I'll be like, hey, are we going too fast? And
I've spin these plates before. I know these roads.
I think the reason I will drop it down to B tier from A tier is because the timer is just too tight.
Yeah, no, it's so unforgiving. It's like you just have to have perfection, or
it has the opposite problem of the Shadow Moon Burial Grounds.
Yeah, which somehow it ended up higher on the list. Hilarious.
Well, because I think if
Yeah,
it wasn't a season one,
I agree with where it's at. Like,
I would probably put Shadow Moon Burial Grounds higher if it just like Court of Stars and Shadow Moon Burial Grounds both. I would rate higher if it wasn't season one Dragonflight. Like if we were just rating the dungeons as dungeons.
Problem is we're doing season 1 Mythic Plus.
Yeah, that's
and that's why I do like honestly because of that I still feel like Court of Stars should be lower, but that's a personal prejudice. So
now we're running into two dungeons that both feel probably the most different to me, depending on whether it's a fortified or a tyrannical week.
Yeah, because they're both adversely different depending on what it is.
And the thing about the first one, Temple of the Jade Serpent, is that dungeon is one of the few that I think personally, being the tank, is more difficult on fortified weeks than it is on tyrannical. And almost all the difficulty comes after the third boss on those pools that were not in the dungeon originally. They've added those packs, and that last pack can be a key breaker on a fortified week. Yeah. Dark Claw still will slap you on a fortified week. It's a joke compared to what it was pre-nerf. People were cheesing the shit out of the third dungeon boss there originally, and it was left in there for a long time. We never did this. I don't even think. Do you know what the cheese is for the Dragon Lady boss?
Is it the thing you've been trying to get me to do?
No. That will be. I think that would work still, and that would be cool. You used to be able to. There's stairs that lead up to the next part, right? It's a closed door.
Oh, you're talking about using the what's it called? The line of sight thing with the height.
You could essentially by using the elevation, you could negate some of the mechanics, and that is something that should be fixed because there was a problem with Veximus as well. You could set it up. We never did it either because
for healers too, healers and range, they both suffer from the elevation issue.
Well, I'm just saying, that's a World of Warcraft design problem.
Yeah, because that's
probably a spaghetti code problem.
Just fucking give us an expansion like they're doing now, keep it around for a couple years, and then give us a game with a fucking engine that is designed to do this shit. The spaghetti code is just, dude, it shows its age. If it was a boat, she would be showing her age. Very old. Everything.
Dude, most games are not like running that long, like either. Like,
yeah, I know.
Now,
but
given the resource, listen. Given the amount of resources that a company like Blizzard has, dude, you've got to understand. This is a small indie company we're talking about here. Okay, you can't be too hard on them. All right, so I'm gonna ask you to take it down a notch.
Look, I understand they're small company indie, but like, I just feel like that certain care should be taken with this game. I mean, it is literally one of the biggest breadwinners in all of the video gaming industry. You would think you would take a little bit better care of it.
Small indie company.
If I could just bang my head into the keyboard, but it's a nice Razer board, so I'm not going to do that.
Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah, I don't want to buy another fucking keyboard. The whole reason why I buy a Razer so I don't have to buy for 5 or 6 years.
Temple of the Jade Serpent. I love the aesthetic.
My shit works. And my by the way, my Deathstalker is now my work keyboard.
Temple of the Jade Serpent. I love the aesthetic. I love the colors. I don't love the narrow hallways. That feels bad on a couple of parts of the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the trash mobs because Dark Claw and the not Defiling Mist. I can't remember the name of it. Also, it might be Defiling.
Oh, what
the one you have to kick from the mist, the channeled spell that will like kill anybody in like 2 seconds if somebody doesn't kick it. That's not like a horrible. I'm just saying.
when it comes down to Jade Serpent for me, I am not a real big fan of the instance myself because I'm not like I hate bosses that do not allot me my toolkit. And as a demon hunter, like not being able to fell rush or vengeful retreat, that's why like the first two bosses in there are the only bosses I really super struggle with.
To be fair, demon hunters didn't exist when that
I
dungeon was
understand
created.
that. I'm getting around it because there is basically I found a square that you can run, or a triangle rather I should put, that you can run on that ring with the fell rushes on the first boss. Like, and I cannot stand the fact that people like do not know where to take the vortex. Like it's so simple. Like, no, not the second part of the ring.
Like, listen, let's not make it about like complaining about what
I know. I get off on a tangent. I can't help it.
That boss should be an easy boss,
right? It's why we call it the stupid check.
I was gonna say, like, do you want to say? But there it is.
I do, dude. That's what it is. That first boss is just a stupid check. That's all it is.
I've seen a lot of 2,800 main players
do the dumbest fucking shit
on that boss, like, and
putting vortexes in the center ring, fucking getting hit by washed away. It's a giant Kamehameha of water. Why do you think you should be in that?
It's a power washer.
Yeah, literally. Like if you got hit by that, you don't have anything left. It just eviscerates bone and all. Like
you should look like Schmitty Werberman Jensen.
Yeah. And
except
no,
you ain't number
one.
You ain't number one if you died to the fucking water boss. The stupid check.
We have yet to die to wash away.
It was his hat, Mr. Krabs. He was number one. He was number one.
He was.
Okay.
So then that begs the question, where does it go?
The second boss is interesting mechanic, but that one's pretty negligible. It's not entirely negligible. That one is a healer. Neither of us, you play a healer on one of your alts for a little while.
Dude, the worst part was that debuff, and even then it's not that bad. Like,
well, we didn't ever go very high on those either because that can become a problem for the healer, but like it mostly and the third boss, okay, now I will say the third boss there, that's one where I'm like, sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know.
Second phase.
But here's a little tip for you that I learned from Quasi. Like, so once again, shout out to the Quasi. He's fucking fantastic. If you save your potions for the second phase of the Jade Serpent boss, when it does the thing where it does the kick and then your health gets obliterated, you have to heal through a shield before you can get your health back. Your potion will help the healer out there. So your healer will thank you if you save a pot for that phase
and
2.
3 pots are cheap. I mean, they are cheap.
Also,
they are
cheap. They're dirt cheap, which is good because you need them. Everyone should have. If you don't have
buy them with
Mythic
ass
Plus,
pennies.
Like ass pennies. Man, there's a reference. I'm going to talk about ass pennies.
Talk about showing age, right?
Man. The good thing about that boss is there's some cool stuff that you can do there, which we said earlier adds to it. Like we haven't gotten it to work yet, and it shouldn't be impossible. We just haven't tried it that many times. There's a mechanic where he, as a demon hunter, can
essentially use the metamorphosis to soak it
and basically become invincible for like a period of time, and that feels good because it's like a skill shot kind of like cheese, if you want to call it cheese.
Dude, I use it to skip a deafening screech on the bird.
Like fix the things like the stairs because that completely trivializes a boss. But something like the demon hunter thing, like that's completely, I think that's cool to have. I think Jade Serpent, for me, I would think, and you're not going to agree with this probably, but like I said, and this is one that definitely in 4 or 5 weeks, I'm like, when I see it come up, but
that last pull.
I think Jade Serpent, I would call an A dungeon for me. It's fast. It's got some interesting mechanics. It's not S tier because some of those bosses are like,
and some of the ads are.
There's enough to learn that adds, like, eventually we learned a trick where you have everybody stack in front of a pillar. I think it was also a quasi trick, and have them face the boss because the ads come out from behind you. If you place yourself properly right before that move comes, you stack all of your ads and you can AoE them down.
Oh yeah, real quickly.
Like, which feels like progression when you learn that kind of thing over time. Like, I would say Jade Serpent for me is an A. It's not a give me. It's quick relative to some of the others. I guess my least favorite thing about it, or one of my least favorite things about it, the run back is terrible until you get to the until you beat the third boss. Yeah. First boss isn't that bad because like if they die, they just you're right there.
You dare disturb these waters?
These waters? Yeah.
Waters.
It sounds like Droopy. Which,
like
a
Droopy is then like stuck in a pool.
If you know who Droopy is, then let me know who you've got for like a doctor for your back, because you're probably old and your back is going out, and we can all use.
That's why my chair is a Serta.
A good doctor. What do you think? Where is it for you?
I can concede A.
And in the world that we live in today, I feel like
dude, the only reason why I would put it in B is because it's Panda Land.
Shorter dungeons have to be like if you make a dungeon too long, everybody's gonna hate it nowadays. Which
although I will say Panda Land did nail how I thought, like in Warcraft 3, what Chin Stormshout's home would look like.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. 2 seconds about Panda Land. Like I remember when it first came out, and I remember I had stopped playing in Cataclysm at that point before. I remember when it came out because I talked to Austin about it, and he told me about it when it was coming out, and I was like,
yeah, it happened when Kung Fu Panda came out, and I was at the age I was
everybody was like, and hey, Kung Fu Panda is a good movie. Kung Fu Panda is a great movie.
Oh, dude, I love that fucking movie. The first two, I never watched the third. I heard the third one's still good.
We all called it Kung Fu Panda when it first came out. We probably wrote it off. That cinematic, the intro cinematic.
Oh, dude, where he hands him the freaking stuff.
That is a good cinematic.
It was a great cinematic.
It's throwback to Warcraft 3. Dude, that panda becomes the Infernal from the beginning of Warcraft 3 when that human hands the spear over to the orc that was just trying to kill him, and they're like, oh shit.
He's like, thank you.
That was fantastic. Like, but I also love Kung Fu movies. So like,
oh yeah,
dude, Miss Pandaria, if I had given it a fair chance, like, as I think that is definitely one of the, it's not as bad of an expansion as we initially thought when we were all young.
Just younger at the time.
Back when we all weren't old geriatrics with AARP cards and handicap parking.
You know what sucks is when we're the appropriate age, we'll never be able to collect Social Security.
Oh yeah, I don't know why the fuck you would go there. Like that's
because I'm paying for it.
Okay, now if this was a tier list of bad voice acting, then this one would take the cake. I hate the beginning. I hate the intro.
Let's fly!
The Tirai Odin Shikar, it can defeat Balakar Clan. I don't know why they said and let fly. Fucking let fly. Hey, like,
you
man,
listen, out there.
That lady was full sending it in that like recording booth, but my God, like, well, she did give us good memes. No Good Offensive was a roller coaster in that the first time we did that on day one in Dragonflight, that was fucking cool. It was like, oh man, we were like, dragon riding is still good. Still one of the better parts of Dragonflight.
Yeah, dude,
it was cool to fly around.
And it makes me excited for maybe some mechanics with dragon riding. You know, maybe a boss.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Max from Maximum Limit, I think, actually had a decent take on what they will likely do with something like that. He's like, I guarantee you there will be dragon riding in a raid boss at some point. He's like, and I guarantee you it will probably be you have to fly from one platform to the other Like, and there will be something that if you do it, you get a DPS buff. And I'm like, yeah, the dude probably, and he's a world first raider, so he knows the raids in and out.
So he
can't get first anymore for America, for Team USA in God knows how long. And hey, I can't do it. So
yeah, you know, what are you shitting in the bag for? You're not winning.
Damn, Max. Hey, he's doing it for the bag. That's what he's doing it for. He's getting paid with that bag, and then he's shitting in that bag.
What kind of bag does Max shit in? Like,
and he goes to sleep. Burger King? He goes to sleep on the piles of money that he dumped out of the bag that he then shat in. Like,
I was like, he's wiping his ass with $100.
Dude, he told Abe, like, I don't watch all of his content by any stretch, but man, he was telling a story one time recently where he was on stream, and I forget what he was talking about. I think it was in his video where he did a video where he was like, you know, comparing tier lists. What?
Yeah.
What are you saying right now?
I've never watched any of these guys.
I know, that's fine. Like, just listen for 2 seconds. To quote you,
bro,
you gotta shut your goddamn mouth.
2 seconds.
And you gotta listen with your ears. Like you said in one of our old episodes. With your mouth? Like you gotta, like, hey, just go watch one of our old episodes and tell me which one it was that he said it in. It was funny. But like, he was telling a story. It's in the video where he's comparing the tier list after the raid to what they all thought it would be. He was definitely lying about what the tier. He actually he straight up said he was never going to give his take before the world first race because it's like privileged information between the teams at that point, what they do think is good and what they think is bad. Anyways, he said he was telling a story about how, like, he's like, you know what? I saw this face, and I don't remember what it was that he was referencing to, but he's like, he was trying to describe a look on someone's face. I know what it was. He ordered a pizza, and he was in the middle of a raid when the pizza. What the fuck are you doing?
It's been more than 2 seconds.
Shut your goddamn pie hole.
I'm just saying.
Well, you ain't a saying. You're a human, so quit it.
Sadly, this is true.
And if you were a saying, you're looking like you would be, well, I won't do that to you. I was going to say, you're looking like, he's not a saying either.
Oh, don't you dare call me Radis.
No, I was going to say Yajirobe.
Oh, wow. Yajirobe gets worse. I could have.
He's one of the greatest characters in all of the fucking, he's hilarious. But fucking, he's telling a story about he ordered a pizza and he's in the middle of a raid pool. And the window in the apartment he was in at the time, he can see the pizza guy who's outside with the pizza. He's at his computer playing a game. He looks at him, but he doesn't get up to answer the door. So he's trying to communicate to the pizza guy, hey, I have to do what I'm doing right now because he's raid leading like
because he's getting paid. He can't leave the computer.
And there's a man who is not getting paid enough outside
to deal with that shit.
And he's like, why can't I just fucking leave? You're holding him hostage. Like, not like some people say that you're getting held hostage in the middle of an M+ run. Like,
getting held hostage. God damn it. Why is it held hostage when you have to complete the content you signed up for?
He talked exactly because people don't want to do the content. They want the loot, which is a bad design. Like he says that he sees a look on the guy's face. And he's like, the only way I can describe this face, and his chat that was watching this video did not get it at all. But I watch his content sometimes, but I don't usually laugh. I laughed out loud when I heard this because I have a dog. He's right there. I love him very much. He has 2 gigantic dogs that he also loves very much. And he said, the guy had a look on his face that I can only describe as when you walk in and you see your dog, you walk into your house and you catch your dog in the middle of taking a shit. And he's got shame on his face because he feels bad. He knows he's not supposed to do what he's doing, but it's happening anyway. And he wishes he could stop it, and you wish you could stop it, but there's no way to stop it. And his He gave an incredibly specific and well-described description of the look on the face that he was giving to the pizza man, and his chat did not get it at all, but his chat clearly has never seen their dog in the act of shitting on the floor they know they're not supposed to shit on.
Oh, yeah.
This dog has only done that 4 times, and 2 of them he was sick for, so that's not his fault. Like, and honestly, if your dog shits in the house, that's your fault.
Yeah, no, that comes down to the trainer and the owner.
Sometimes they can't help it, but like if you're mad at, if your dog shit on the floor and you're mad at the dog, I'm not going to say everybody, but chances are it was your fault that that dog shat in the house.
Yeah, because you didn't either take him out, you didn't listen to the signals.
Don't beat your dog in the first place. Like,
there's
a more effective way to teach the dog what to do. Like, all you're going to do is scare it. Like, anyways, I thought that was a hilarious description. No Good Offensive was a dungeon that I loved at first, then I hated, and now I feel like it's not the best dungeon, but I don't hate it like I did.
It has okay, so there's potential. It's not there yet. I don't particularly care for Centaur. I'm not a fan of fighting them. I'm not a fan of being around them. Although I am glad to hear that they used the original Centaur sound before the last boss charges.
You've gone on about that 3 times.
Dude,
he fucking loves that.
I love that little shit like that. Like I was like, yeah.
He literally on 2 separate occasions, like weeks apart, he said it, and I'm like,
I like hearing shit like that, dude. I'm cool with all the updates, but you know what? Throw me an Easter egg in there with one of the mobs or something, you know? A little something for the guy who's been here since 04.
The Dragonflight Season 1 Mythic Plus dungeons are, the Dragonflight ones specifically, are too mechanic heavy. And there is not a better example of it than the 3rd trash packs up before the 3rd boss.
No. Azure Blade is definitely what comes down to the over-engineer.
That's a boss. I'm talking about trash
mechanics. Okay.
I don't think Azure Blade is too many mechanics.
Oh, God, that's way too much shit going on.
No, I'll tell you this. I think that boss has a lot going on, and it's definitely not forgiving, and there are a lot of, it's probably the most mechanic-heavy boss in the season.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the Court of Stars...
I'll give you what you're going with it. No Coon, that trash in itself is almost like each one of those necro pools is like a mini boss.
But it becomes much easier. It's also been nerfed, which overall things were definitely tuned too hard, the newer dungeons, and will probably... You mark my words now. There's no way. First of all, it's good that they've done balancing changes on the dungeons throughout the season, but I'll bet you anything we go through the same frustrations in season 2, and it takes them long. And you know what? That at that point, if you're the developer, it probably sucks because you're like, even when they admit that we're doing what they want, the problem becomes we're not doing it fast enough. It's like, and I know they had Christmas and all that, but fucking those dungeons were not, and hey, they were crunched. They've said that Dragonflight was and Wrath Classic were definitely pushed out before they were ready. Those dungeons needed some more tuning.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, the 3rd, there's so much trash. I mean, there's so many mechanics in the 3rd trash packs that people will die and they'll have no idea why they're dying, and it just feels bad until you know what to do, and then it becomes manageable. But it's also been nerfed also. I think the bosses are interesting. The second one, the tornado boss was arguably the tornado boss. No, dude, when she knows that the show is on, she will be like, I'm sorry.
No, what are we talking about? You hit and ignore. Well, we're talking about the phone. You know what? Give it here. Give it here. Come on. Let's put it in the drawer. Give me the phone.
I can't.
Give me
I don't.
phone.
I have to have it for emergencies. It's for emergencies.
If the school wouldn't get sued over it, I'd take that fucking phone from you.
I think that the Tornado Boy was probably one of the hardest bosses in the season originally. It's still not a cakewalk.
No.
On Tyrannical, that is definitely the rest of the bosses you can't sleep on. No, but that one is the are we going to make it or not check.
Yeah. No, that one definitely lets you know real quick if your group's going to be able to handle it or not.
The bosses in that dungeon feel like they've got a good amount of mechanics without being too much.
Yeah. Although I will say the amount that he spews out orbs is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. I think it's got a skip. Now, the thing is, that skip is almost the same problem that we had with Azure Vault, where we talk about, hey, once you nerfed Frost Bombs, that boss became like, it might as well not exist. Like, that skip is a skip that is so good that, like, it becomes a mandatory skip. It's like, which is a problem for Mythic Plus, because if somebody joins the game in, let's say, season 3 and No Crew Defensive is back in the rotation, assuming it's not going to be in the rotation for season 2, that will be one that people will leave and shit on you instantly if you're a new tank. Tanking becomes much less something that people want to learn late in the game because there's skips. And if you don't know the skips, like, you are going to be blasted for it. And that skip is so important. It's so much better to skip those trash packs that, like, it's hard to be like, so arguably it's like that should have been fixed in a way that makes it not an auto include to do that skip. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
they could just fix it to where it kicks you off the mount quicker and you can't.
Yeah, but skip. but also if that was the fix, that would be like the option should be, to me, to fix that trash in the path up to bear, that it becomes a decision instead of well, if you don't take the skip, then you're stupid, because that is effectively the way it is now. That is a very forgiving timer relative to some of the other ones. But it effectively comes down to, if you one-shot the last boss, then you're probably going to time that key.
Just need a second Storm Slash. That's it.
I think it's either A tier or B tier. I think you could go in between. Like, I'd be okay with putting it on the line between the two. If we had to pick one.
For me, I just don't feel like it's there for A tier.
You know what? I'll say this. Well, maybe this will push you over if it doesn't. I mean, it sounds like you're set on B tier, knowing you. But, like, here's what I will say. Whether it's tyrannical or whether it's fortified, that dungeon feels like it's hard enough either way, and for different reasons. Like, it feels like,
so it manages both weeks very well. And something honestly, that I could see that being A tier, because if you nail that, that can be a situation where it's like, okay, this does what it's supposed to, because it's not like, well, right now we just got healers skipping this week altogether because they are so
hard. Which is a bad design.
Exactly.
Like, bursting.
So if you manage to get one that is equally difficult,
I hate that dungeon on fucking
Fortified. Oh, Sanguine. No, fuck Sanguine. God, fuck that affect.
You know what? Also,
it's nothing that kills people.
I hate the worst one on Sanguine.
Ruby Life Pools.
Ruby Life Pools.
Dude, we've seen that guy heal himself to full health so many fucking times.
And can we also just acknowledge the fact that on the Sanguine weeks, it seems like all the trash mobs would stand for an extra 3 seconds.
Yeah. Like all of a second, they have a half second to think about everything.
Like 3 seconds, dude. It is not half a second.
PvP half second.
Okay, here's the list for audio listeners. we've got S tier, Ruby Life Pools. A tier is Algathar Academy, Temple of the Jade Serpent, and Noku Defensive. B tier is Core to Stars in the Azure Vault. C tier is Shadow Moon Barrel Grounds. D tier, Halls of Valor. If there's one thing that we should do, that we should have thought about when we were doing this originally, because I did think about this when we sat down to do this, but I didn't mention it at all when we actually recorded it. Affixes. Like,
affixes are a bit of a different conversation, I would think.
But were there any dungeons that were drastically changed by week to week with affixes?
Yeah.
Ruby Life Pools is one.
Ruby Life Pools is definitely one. Azure Vault is definitely one. That first pool completely changes.
I think that
the way you handle it doesn't change.
I think what it really comes down to is it a shitty affix? And if it is it a tight timer dungeon? Because if it is, that's going to feel bad. And like you said, sometimes that just might make people straight up not want to play at all, which
it makes Algathar
is objectively bad
very
design.
Complicated. Because the bird boss just
Grievous,
way too.
Algathar blows.
Oh yeah, because
on Tyrannical.
Yeah, they're just some of that shit, dude. To just
Grievous blows.
Yeah,
bursting isn't as bad.
But like I said, going over affix is really, like I said, that deserves a video in its own. Because
we've already gone 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is, hey, that's a good length for a podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, there's still some stuff I feel like we should probably
certainly you disagree with our takes on I feel like we were at least pretty fair, but if you disagree, you should let us know where.
And I'll tell you why you're wrong.
And I'll give you a more objective argument, but I think I think
that looks good to me. And be honest, I'd like to see.
If you were going to move one, which one would you move? I mean, would you move it up or down? I would move Court of Stars up.
I would move Court of Stars as well. And it would go down.
Which makes sense. That's consistent, baby. Consistent as chocolate drink. Now that's the deal.
It's a consistent chocolate drink. God damn it.
Don't eat pallets. Like and subscribe if you liked it. If you don't like it, dislike it.
Remember, it beats
and go
that
fuck
like
yourself.
button.
No, don't go fuck yourself. But if you don't like it, you could tell us why. That would be useful. And you don't have to do that but it would help us out. And for that,
how would that help?
We say thank you. Because then we know something about what people didn't like, which is useful.
We know what one person might not like.
Hey, that's useful. Maybe. Don't be a lever.
Oh, yeah. I say you can be anything you want in the world, but you can't be a lever.
Don't be a lever. Spank your beaver.